Hi everyone, this is John. Welcome back to my channel. This is my weekly Sunday installment of my library for March 5th, 2022. And if you've been following my channel, you know I've already done 3 installments that showed you books from my library. I thought I would give you a bit of a reprieve from that, since in my library, in 2 specific places, high up on the very top shelf, there are actually somewhere, I would guess, between 300, maybe 350 CDs that I've collected over the past 20 or 25 years. And I wanted to show you those. I asked in the community section if anyone might have any interest. A few people chimed in and said yes. And so I just wanted to show you those. Just a heads up as far as what you'll be seeing. So you won't have to sit through and expect anything that won't be here. Wait for something that won't be here. This is 98% classical music. Almost all of which in somewhere around the year 1900. Not a huge fan of what you call contemporary or even early 20th century classical music. Classical with a lowercase c. So my interest in somewhere around Mahler, Brahms, sometimes go up to maybe Rachmaninoff or Prokofiev or something like that, but not much further than around 1920, 1930. If you are interested, I'm a former classical musician. Was never a professional, but did play throughout college. I played the cello and the piano, a little bit of harpsichord. And that explains my interest for early music, which will make itself more obvious as the CD collection tour goes on. This is about a quarter of my collection. They were at one time, just like my books were, in alphabetical order, but as the CD collection grew and grew, I just sort of stopped putting them in order because it's harder and harder to shove them into thin places, so they would just get stacked on top of one another. Some chunks of these still are in largely alphabetical order, others are not. But it's about 98% classical music, 2% contemporary stuff, but not classical. Early to mid 20th century jazz, for example, before the age of bebop. Some Enya, some Sarah Brightman, stuff like that. And the CD collection also is part of my library that I haven't given a lot of way from, so it's expressive of all the stages of my interests, including some of the collection CDs, which are from when I was younger, maybe in high school, middle school, through CDs that have, most of what I have, CDs that have entire pieces on them. But you're familiar with those, like, sort of piano classics for romantics or something like that. I don't have many of those, but there are a couple. So let me just dive in. I apologize again for the kind of random presentation, but it's as good as it's going to get for now. To start off with, I have an opera. This is by Christoph Gluck. This is Iphigenie et Tauride, or Iphigenia in Taurus. I apologize also for some of the price tags, which I never managed to remove. This is my big, wonderful collection. So glad I have this. I'm a huge fan of Baroque era opera. And it is my complete collection of Georg Handel's operas. Let's see, 8 of them. So we have Rinaldo, Giulio Cesare, or Julius Caesar, Tamerlando, Rodalinda, Alessandro, Lotario, Partenope, and Circe. 22 CDs in all. These are all from, oh goodness, should probably know better, but I'm not going to waste your time looking for it. Sony Classical RCA. Great recordings, and got it for a song. Wonderful deal. Okay, so I'll get some of the embarrassing stuff out of the way. Enya, this is A Day Without Rain. This was somewhat of a guilty pleasure. I discovered Enya in elementary school or middle school, and have still never quite grown out of her. Still will admit to putting this on every once in a while. Another Enya CD, The Memory of Trees. Sorry. Okay, this is one of these collection albums that I got. Probably one of my first 10 or 20 CDs. This is Russian Moods. It has a lot of different things on it. Dance of the Persian Slave Girls. A lot of really good Russian music from not terribly well-known Russian composers, but a really good 2 CD set to have. This is a set by, oh goodness, Max Bruch. This is the 8 pieces for clarinet, the Romance for viola and orchestra, and the Concerto for clarinet, viola, and orchestra. The Great Elgar Concerto, the cello concerto in E minor. Naxos, by the way, this is an old Naxos label, was one of my favorite early labels to collect. This is the Stabat Mater of Giovanni Pergolesi, one of the great Stabat Maters of the early 18th century. This is music for 4 and 5 voices by the wonderful, wonderful English composer William Byrd. This is the Mass for 4 voices, the Mass for 5 voices, and I think a madrigal or a choral piece called In Felix Ego, or Unlucky Me. This is, sorry about the glare, I hope it's going away. It's right at sunset. This is Michael Praetorius, who was a late 16th, early 17th century Renaissance composer, or extremely early Baroque. These are the dances from the Terpsichore suites, and some of the motets from the Musai Sinai. The Musai Sinai? The Sinai Muses? Can't quite translate that, but some dances, orchestral music, and some motets. Motets, for people who are unfamiliar with the term, is a certain type of choral music from the Renaissance. This is a set of a symphonia and 2 orchestral suites called Les Placeuses by Georges-Philippe Telemann. So old, they're a little bit dusty. Sarah Brightman. This is the CD called Eden. This is a a CD of Palestrina Masses. This is the Missa Brevis and the Missa Nasce la Gioia Mia from a wonderful group called the Tallis Scholars, who are an incredible bunch of Renaissance music scholars and performers. This is Missa Pepi Marcelli by Palestrina, as well as Allegra's Miserere and a few other pieces by lesser-known Italian Renaissance composers. Here are the 5 cello sonatas by Beethoven, as well as 2 sets of theme and variations from Mozart's Die Zauberflöte and theme and variations from Handel's Judas Maccabeus. Another one of these nice collection CDs. I just sometimes like to put on and just listen to songs for sort of a lighter listening experience. And no one does, Italian songs quite like Cecilia Bartoli does. This is an Italian songbook with her and James Levine. It has songs of Vincenzo Bellini, Gaetano Donizetti, and Rossini. These are sonatas for the violoncello and bass by a French composer I'd never heard of named Jean-Baptiste Berrier, who was an early 18th century composer, I guess very, very roughly contemporaneous with Bach, but about 20 years younger than Bach, but died around the same year. Bach died in 1750, he died in 1747. But I am, like I said, have a history as a cellist, so I'm sort of never heard of him, interested in anything in the cello repertoire. And this is book 2 of the same set. There's 6 more sonatas for violoncello. This is Robert Shaw and the Atlantic Symphony Orchestra. This is Samuel Barber's 4 Prayers of Kierkegaard, Bela Bartok's Cantata Profana, and Rafe von Williams's Dona Nobis Pacem. For those of you who are unfamiliar with the history of Western music, you might know a Bach, who is probably J.S. Bach, Johann Sebastian. But Johann Sebastian actually ended up having children himself who were very, very good musicians in their own right, and one of them was named Wilhelm Friedmann. And this is 3 symphonias, a harpsichord concerto, and an orchestral suite, played by another great group called Tafelmusik by Jean Lamont, headed up and directed by Jean Lamont. Here's Wilhelm Friedmann's Papa, J.S., some Christmas cantatas. There are 3 cantatas here and an orchestral suite. Here's a set of 4 concerti, a concerto for 3 harpsichords, a concerto for 3 violins, a concerto for harpsichord and 2 recorders, and a concerto for harpsichord, flute, and violin. also by J.S. Bach. Here is another, this is from a series of sacred music called Sanctus. This is Vivaldi's Gloria in D major, Antonio Caldara's Stabat Mater, and J.S. Bach's Magnificat in D major. Of course, here's the cello lover in me again. One of my favorite 20th century cellists is the great Russian Mstislav Rostropovich. Here are suites 1, 4, and 5. And it's a 2-volume set. So here is him also playing suites 2, 3, and 6. Here is more Naxos of the Sons of Bach. So we already know about Wilhelm Friedemann, but on the top there, CPE is Carl Philipp Emanuel Bach. 2 symphonies from CPE, Carl Philipp Emanuel, and 4 symphonies from CPE and 1 from Wilhelm Friedrich. Another 2 CD set from Daddy Bach. This is J.S. Bach's Mass in B minor, the great Mass in B minor. I also am a huge fan. I'm a huge fan of anything Bach, but like I said, also used to play the keyboard and the harpsichord. So here is Murray Pariah's take on Bach's English suites, number 2, 4, and 5. And here's his take on English suites 1, 3, and 6. Still on Bach. J.S. This is the double concerto for 2 violins, the violin concertos in A minor and E major. This is a 2 CD set of The Well-Tempered Clavier, Book 1, by J.S. Bach. And it's a very large work, so here's another 2 CD set. This is The Well-Tempered Clavier, Book 2. Each book, by the way, has 12 preludes and 12 fugues. So you have a total of 48 preludes and fugues. And each pair is in a different major or minor key. So he has a prelude and fugue in C major, a prelude and fugue in C sharp major, a prelude and fugue in D major, a prelude and fugue in E flat, a prelude and fugue in E. And some of them are so popular that you've heard them. Others are maybe less popular. But still on Bach. The orchestral suites, numbers 1 through 4. Okay, I think I only have about 20 or 30 more. I'm trying to go as quickly as possible. This is a collection of a whole bunch of arias sung by Maria Callas in Paris in 1963. It has selections from La Cenerentola, The Barber of Seville, Madame Butterfly, Norma, Mephistopheles by Boito, La Bohème, Tosca, Gianni Schicchi, Nabucco, just a bunch of arias. This is Nathalie Dessay singing the role of Lakme by Leo Delebi, the great opera that has One really famous aria in it that's especially beautiful, even though the whole thing is stunning, actually. Um, Dusty CD, excuse me. This is Arthur Rubinstein playing. I don't know if this is all of the nocturnes, but it's certainly the major ones. It's two CDs of him playing the nocturnes. One of the great 20th century interpreters of Chopin. Uh, Here is some more Chopin. This is his not very well known cello concerto. Excuse me, cello sonata. His Polonaise Brillante for cello and piano, and two ballads for solo piano. And two other wonderful pieces by Chopin, the both of the piano concertos played by Emanuel Ax. Another one of those Sanctus CDs. This is Luigi Cherubini's Missa Solemnis in D minor. Another Maria Callas CD. This is recordings that she did in Hamburg in 1962. Stuff from El Cid by Jules Massenet, Carmen, Hernani, Don Carlos, La Cenerentola again. Some of the most famous arias from those operas. This is some stunningly beautiful early. I mean, if you think of J.S. Bach as the height of the Baroque, right? We often think of the year that he died, 1750, as being kind of the end of the Baroque period, even. Buxtehude actually taught Bach. Buxtehude belonged to probably more like two generations before Bach. So he belongs to the more early to middle period of Baroque music. And this is a choral piece that he wrote called Membra Jesu Nostri. And it is a setting for the seven, oh gosh, what's the word for it? The seven last crosses, the seven last words of Christ. Might be getting my wording there wrong, but it's a stunning, like early middle Baroque setting of religious music. Here is Symphony Number 1 by Anton Bruckner. And that guy in the front is not Anton Bruckner itself, it's George Schulte, who is the conductor. This is Max Bruch, his four pieces for cello and orchestra, as well as I think I already mentioned it somewhere else, I have it on another CD, the double concerto for clarinet, viola, and orchestra. The first concert piece for cello and orchestra on here is called Kol Nidre, which is a Jewish prayer, I think, for the dead. It is, if you've never heard Kol Nidre played, do yourself and go type it in to YouTube right now. It's spelled KOLNIDREI, and listen to a good recording of it. It is absolutely stunning, and I bet it will get you hooked on Max Bruch. These are the complete symphonies of Brahms. There were only 4 of them. So it's easy to come out with a 2 CD collection. There you go. The Berlin Philharmonic, and there on the cover is Herbert von Karajan, the conductor. More from Songtes. This is the German Requiem by Johannes Brahms. Boccherini is a composer who is a rough contemporary of Mozart, but sort of doesn't get played quite as much as Mozart does. He wrote a number of really, really wonderful cello concertos, which is what got me interested in him. These are 4 of his symphonies, though. 6 of his symphonies. The symphony is Opus 12 by Luigi Boccherini. This is one of my favorite early period musician cellists. It's Honor Bilsma, the unfortunately former cellist. He was a Dutch performer, and he specialized in music of this period. These are more pieces by Boccherini, mostly cello sonatas, but also a few fugues for 2 cellos. If I occasionally call them violoncellos, it's because I'm reading them off of the back, and I haven't seen some of these for a while. But violoncello, by the way, is the formal name for a cello, but no one really calls it that. It's just cello. Violin is what we call the one you play this way. But for some reason, they still write violoncello sometimes. I don't know why. More Boccherini. Cello concertos, what they're calling Volume 1. This is numbers 1 through 4. More Boccherini. This is guitar quintets, 3 guitar quintets. Boccherini was really one of the notable 18th century composers who wrote for guitar. We think of guitar as being more popular with 20th century contemporary classical music. But I think Boccherini spent a long stint in Spain, where, of course, the guitar is much more popular, and he wrote quite a bit of music for it. Next up is Beethoven's Great Mass in C, along with an elegiac song and Calm Sea and Prosperous Voyage. These are, oh goodness, which last sonatas? They're not giving me the numbers. It's just calling me. Beethoven wrote 32 piano sonatas. They're calling this just the last sonata of Beethoven and Schubert. So I don't know if that's number 32 or what, but they're just giving me Opus and Deutsche numbers, which don't really help me because I don't remember those. Here are the 5 piano concerti and the Fantasy for piano, chorus, and orchestra, played by Arthur Brendel. The great triple concerto by Beethoven for piano, cello, and violin, and then also his violin concerto. This is the complete string quartets, string quartets number 1, 2, and 3 by Brahms, as well as the clarinet quintet by Brahms. Again, I apologize for the price tag. This is Liszt's A Faust Symphony, which is made up of 3 movements: Faust, Gretchen, and Mephistopheles. Liszt, known for probably 2 things: his incredibly difficult piano music and a smaller body of orchestral tone poems and occasional music that he wrote, which is, for me, even more satisfying to listen to. Here is some music by the great 19th century French composer Hector Berlioz. This is the Symphonie Dramatique from Romeo and Juliet, and Le Triomphe à Carthage. Le Triomphe à Carthage, two excerpts. These are 3 secular cantatas by Handel. This is a CD of 2 violin concertos, Sibelius's Great Violin Concerto and Brahms's Great Violin Concerto. And one last thing, let me shove these other things to the side. I told you that as the collection goes on a bit, I will, a certain subset of interests of mine will become more popular, which is medieval and Renaissance choral polyphony, say from the 14th through the 17th centuries. And this is, if anyone is interested in anything like that or getting introduced to things of that period, I think you can still find this on Amazon for next to nothing. It is from Sony Music, Vivarte. This is called A Secret Labyrinth. Let me read it's a celebration of music from the Middle Ages to the Renaissance. All of the CDs in here, and there are 15 of them, 15 CDs. They're all performed by the same group, another great group of musical scholars and performers called the Huelgas Ensemble, who are directed by Paul von Nevel. And this music is presented in chronological order. It goes all the way from the music found in the Codex Las Huelgas, which is where they get the group gets their name from, which was full of music from 13th century Spain, and has music from Alexander Agricola, Antoine Bromel, Matteo Viejo, Costanzo Festa, Nicolas Jambert, Pierre de Machancourt, Orlando de Lassus, Jacopo Scalas, and Lorenzo Robello. If you're familiar with some of those names, you can tell that they're in contemporary or in chronological order, and it covers 300-400 years of just some of the best choral music of the age, and really by top-notch choral performers. The Huelgas Ensemble is, if you're looking for groups who are really who know their stuff, this is something to get. So I think I got it, like I said, for something like $40 or $50, and that was 10 or 12 years ago when it first came out, and it's still pretty inexpensive, I think. I have no idea how. It's because no one listens to this, I think. But if you are interested, definitely something to get your hands on. Endless hours of listening pleasure. So I hope this is well received. If so, I will have a volume 2, 3, and 4 of more CDs for you. Um, I will come back next week with another set of books from my bookshelf, so I can sort of spread these out and not bore you with music all at once. Until then, I will see you next Sunday. Bye.